Dr. Julie McCallan here with Synergenics Denver. Are you struggling with low energy, lack of focus, weight gain, or poor sleep? My team can help you get your metabolism and hormones balanced and healthy. Call Synergenics today, 720-387-3681, or visit our website at denver.synergenics.com.
Yeah. Morning, everybody. 8 a.m. Thursday morning, September the 2nd, 2021. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather. It's going to be cooler and rain. 82 will be the high, 83 tomorrow, and 87 on Saturday. And today's a big day. This is our streaming television show begins today. We've dubbed it The Shoot. And our first guest, we're probably going to do 2 segments with Tom Tancredo. And so that's good stuff. In the meantime, you know, the nasty little messages begin even before I hit the button and say good morning to Brother Jeff. It's like, how does it feel to be, you know, people saying rotten stuff about you before you even appear on the air? Ladies and gentlemen, he is a dear friend, and hopefully he will do the television show with us, a new TV show. Brother Jeff is with us. Good morning, sir, and thanks for coming back.
Good morning. I'd love to do the show with you and let the scratching on the blackboard begin.
That's like I said, we get a lot of cards and letters, and despite of them, Brother Jeff comes back on the show. We had, did you get an opportunity to hear George Brockler this morning talking about the Elijah McClain grand jury? Did you hear the show?
Yeah, I think listening to George Brockler this morning was very, very illuminating. And it always reminds me that there are individuals that know a lot about what's going on inside of those courtrooms and, you know, the whole legal system. And most of us are just watching from the outside. And so it was very interesting to hear, you know, him say that, you know, it's going to be a difficult win, but it's not impossible because the question is maybe in terms of, you know, who did this. And I read the Aurora Police Association statement immediately following the Phil Weiser announcement, and that statement is riddled with "it wasn't us, it was them." So this is going to be a fight between whether it was the Aurora Police that caused the death of Elijah McClain, or whether it's the paramedics, and they're going to keep pointing the fingers at each other and hopefully come up with that reasonable doubt in terms of, we know Elijah McClain should be alive, but we just don't know what the actual cause of death was.
And George agreed, Brockler agreed, they killed that kid.
Yes.
I mean, I've listened and I've talked to people and I've listened to police officers speak. Now, the part that troubles me the most is the approach. I mean, they had that kid physically 90 seconds maybe after I've watched these tapes, and they choke him a couple of times. You know, for the life of me, and I'm back to blue. We got MC1 coming. I'm a fundraiser and supporter of the cops. And, of course, all the nasty email have already begun. But this is an incident that happened. And the behavior of the officers and the paramedics giving him the shot and all that kind of stuff. Jeffrey, he died on the street. He didn't die in the hospital. I've had cops tell me he was dead on the street that night.
Well, you know, it was fascinating, and you have to listen very close to your conversation with George Brockler, because you ended by saying Elijah McClain died on the street.
He did.
And I believe I heard Brockler say agreed.
No,
I mean,
did,
we
yeah.
all know
Sure.
what we saw. And it's just so very interesting that, you know, it comes down to, you know, who killed him. But I believe all of it. Like, it was a combination of all of it. And so when they get to pointing the fingers, you know, everyone knows that Elijah McClain should be alive. And, you know, I spent a lot of time yesterday afternoon with Elijah McClain's mom, Shanine McClain. And, you know, we all agree that yesterday is not a time to celebrate, but it is a moment to say, you know what, Elijah McClain should be alive. And as a result, someone should be charged and held accountable for his death. And I think that is, you know, what encouraged her the most out of yesterday.
The sadness of it is, you know, I don't know the officers or the paramedics, and I've listened to person after person that I respect talk about the young man himself, he was, he had some. I mean, he was a stay-away guy. He had issues. He he went and played his violin to the dogs. I mean, my heavens. I mean, this is a stone-cold, innocent kid who, for all intents and purposes, there used to be a term in the 60s, and we're both old enough to remember it. They used to call people a child of God. Remember that, Jeffrey? A child of God.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how Shanine McClain and everyone recognizes, Elijah McClain. She's on a mission. Like, she feels as though she's been put in a position to, not only get, clear her son's name, but also to make sure that nothing like this happens again to any other family or any other, mother. It's amazing to see the determination that she has in her eyes and in her heart to just really be at the tip of the spear of this particular painful moment, and doing it on behalf of those that might not have to experience what she's going through.
I'm having lunch with Stefan today, and we're going to talk about some stuff. But, last night I knew this was going to be an issue, and we knew that George was on the show. I knew that you actually, Billy, put all of this together very quickly. And as a supporter of law enforcement and a fundraiser for fallen officers and all the things that we've done, yet how do you look at this kid who, for all intents and purposes, was the innocent of the innocent? And I've watched those tapes probably too many times, how they mishandled that kid. Now, the question comes up immediately from police, people that don't like it. Oh, they do this all the time, to people who say this is an anomaly. And, man, they should have never let this kid alone.
Well, what's interesting, Pete, is there were two things that I was listening to in Attorney General Phil Weiser's announcement. And one, he talked about the 32 counts that were going to be filed on yesterday. But he also said his office is going to be looking at perhaps the systemic approaches and the culture of the Aurora Police Department.
I saw
and
that.
I grew up here, and we always knew as blacks that Aurora was like a sundown town. And when you think about, some of the recent activities where the gentleman was pistol whipped and, all of that, and then prior to that there was a black woman and her family laid on the hot asphalt where they were messing up and saying it was a stolen car, but it was motorcycle plates. They had a truck and it was out of town. And so all of this stuff is something that I believe Phil Weiser said he's going to look in terms of the culture. And I really want to add this, Peter, when like George Brockler said, here's a 30-year career prosecutor in terms of Dave Young. I believe he was speaking of Dave Young.
He passed. That's right, he did. He passed on it.
This is the part that he leaves out. It was also when you put a witness on the stand, they always check the character and the veracity of their statements. Well, this is the Dave Young that was cheating on his wife, and the mistress ended up dead after calling the police, who arrested the husband of the woman, and they didn't take her to jail. They took him to a hotel. She ends up dead. Dave Young's tied up into this, and this is the same individual that folks are looking forward to having integrity as it relates to the death of Elijah McClain. All of this plays into this story, which makes it even more tragic.
I agree. I mean, I knew that story, and I've been told that story about what his personal life was about, and they call I think it's called passing, that Dave Young passed on this. And here's my issue, and Brother Jeff's here. This is a lose-lose. I was thinking about it last night. Actually, I'm almost going to send you a text, and we'll wait till tomorrow. Either way, this loses. If the 32 counts against the cops and the other guy's an ex-cop and the paramedics, if they're all found or not charged or whatever it is that's going to happen, the outcome, Aurora's going to explode. Maybe even Denver. And maybe, across the country. If they settle, with, one of the things that George Brockler said was the largest amount perhaps in the history of the state. And you watch politics as well, if not better than I do. Is this a political thing from Polis to Weiser to, as you mentioned, Dave Thomas passed on it. The police officers are upset about it. This is a lose-lose, but this kid should be alive, Jeffrey. He should not be dead. He should have gone on his way that night. He should have not been bothered, but now what? So talk to that if you would, please.
I think it is a lose-lose, and you state that very correctly. When speaking with Shanine McClain, she was dispelling some myths that something was wrong with her son. She was saying that this was just, like you said, a child of God, a godly child who cured himself of asthma, who had a particular lifestyle. I said maybe he was someone who was wearing a mask before his time, because now everyone's wearing a mask. And then I can tell you this, when you say, is it political? I believe so, but I believe it's political for this reason. The grassroots and those who were very, very upset at the loss of Elijah McClain, they agitated so much to where the politics and the politicians and the leaders had to do something. And because it was getting worse and worse and worse, there was something they had to do to take this. Back in the day, they had like these pressure cookers that at some point you better take that little top off or it's going to explode.
It's going to blow. Yeah, it's going to blow.
So at the political level, I believe they know and knew something had to be done to address something that has been wavering for over 2 years that wasn't going to go away. And fortunately, it's making its way through the legal system, which many attempted to keep it away from. And so, yes, it's very political. The outcome is going to be interesting because, as you know, on any given day, you never know what a jury's going to do. And it doesn't even matter how skilled prosecution or defense is. When juries begin to see things and hear things, you never know which way they're going to go.
Brother Jeff's here, and it was a grand jury, and I was saying to George, the two grand juries, the one grand jury I think I know more about, and that was the Ramsey grand jury, and then the Rocky Flats grand jury, and there's a term called a runaway grand jury. In the case of the Ramseys, Alex Hunter did not do the right thing. The grand jury wanted to indict the parents and for her murder, in spite of Paula Woodward's idiocy and the other stupid things that are done. My personal belief is they did what they did. The other one's Rocky Flats. And, Patricia's going to do the Shoot television show with us. And I'm going to get her to focus on that because Westward really did the great job. What that grand jury wanted to do about Rocky Flats, and they were able to ignore all of it. So now this grand jury has a 32-count indictment. And you watch the video. I mean, I've watched that video so many times, or I don't know, so many times, but the kid's walking home, and they put the guy in this carotid. It's a choke. It's a MMA choke, and the paramedics are called, and I think it's 500 milligrams of ketamine. And the official version is McCain died a few days later in the hospital. I throw the BS flag at that, Jeffrey. I think they killed him on the street that night.
Yes, I mean, and it's very clear to see that they were clearing and cleaning something up. Remember, the officers showed back up at the scene and mockingly took pictures and selfies, and said "ha ha" when called by their police chief to come in terms of accountability. This is the same culture to where they had an officer showing up punch-faced, drunk, in uniform, in car, and, there's no test, there's nothing, that would hold him or anyone accountable. And when I talk to law enforcement, there are many that say that, these incidents, they tarnish the badge. It drags the dignity of law enforcement to the point to where now you do have individuals calling for, defunding the police and, folks that are walking away from law enforcement. Some of those that are walking away from law enforcement are not walking away because it's more dangerous. They're walking away because they have integrity and the dignity, and they want to hold that standard high. And you have individuals that refuse to just show up and serve and protect.
Brother Jeff's here. Elijah McCain's grand jury, 32 counts. It's big. It's huge. Given what's happening in our country today, the cameras will. I mean, the last time I saw this was during the Aurora Theater shooting, and I think, Jeffrey, this will be bigger in terms of the amount of attention given to it, and there's no good end.
There is no good end, and like you said, it's a lose-lose. Just think about this: the grand jury sending down 32 counts is just the start in a long journey. There's going to be another jury that's going to be able to look at this, and depending on the outcome of that, I believe that's when you're going to see if the city, the state, the country explodes or not, because we are at that tipping point, and people are really looking and seeing what they're seeing, that's and it's like you say, lose-lose. We walk
between lies today in this country, trying to figure out what happens next. It's a great sadness. I want you to do the shoot show. I think you think. I mean, they're getting yelled at.
They're ready to put a face to the name. If they can't take the name, I'm not sure that they could take the face.
How can you be the guy that never lived a life outside of the perfect bubble? Do they know anything about you? I mean, it's like,
well, it always boils down to when individuals hear something that counters what they've been conditioned to believe. And I'm not on either side. And even in this Elijah McClain situation, I want to see the system work.
Yes.
When I woke up, I don't want to feel as though I should be excited because the basic system of justice is presenting itself as it relates to black people or people who don't have access and are not privileged. I want folks to go down the street and feel as though if they're being pulled over by the police or if they are being approached by law enforcement or whatever, they're getting the same treatment as anyone else, and their human dignity is respected irregardless of who they are. And so when we get to that point, I think it will put us in a win-win situation. But until then, we're going to constantly be in silos and making excuses for poor behavior based on who we like and who we don't.
Wow. I'll put you on hold. Billy wants to talk to you, book you for the TV gig. Brother Jeff, I talked to a longtime friend of yours yesterday for a really long time, and you came up in a conversation. We were trading Brother Jeff stories, and it's it's like, somebody said, "Are you close?" I said, "Yeah, we message each other, and we've gone back so many years together, and so many fights together, and this is a decent man, you guys. I mean, of course, you're already called a liar this morning, which is really." I said, oh, "Jeff's not a liar." Anyhow, but so I'll put you on hold.
The only lie that they could say is that I just believe, like most folks believe, that Elijah McClain should be alive.
Should be alive.
If that's a lie, then we're all liars.
They killed him. He died on the street. I mean, I've had Aurora cops tell me that. He said we killed him on the street that night. He never, days later, dying in a hospital. It's like, and although it's a good example, but it's a bad comparison. Nobody ever dies on the mountain skiing. They only die at the bottom in the hospital. And I've been told, and I'm serious, because like if somebody hits a tree and dies, they wait till they get him down the sled, put him in the hospital, so he's dead. He never dies on the hill. And I've been told that by ski patrol and by people that manage mountains, and they say that, and it's a smart thing to say, but
absolutely,
it is what it is. Billy's going to talk to you. Brother Jeff, thanks. I love you with my heart, man. Hang on, everybody. Stack Optical, and then we got Mike Roberts coming up. It's been one of those, again, interesting bloody knuckle mornings. Alan Stack and Stack Optical, first of all, they're open, and you can set the time, the date, the place. StackOptical.com's the web, but they're 2233 South Monaco Parkway is where they are. And all of my glasses from Stack, motorcycle glasses, and ride this weekend, ski goggles, we were talking about that's going to start soon, sunglasses, name it and claim it. Alan Stack has it. Perfect prescription. They can help you. Their on-site eyeglasses production lab delivers the best quality prescription sunners and sporting lenses and eyeglasses. And if you need the appointment, 2233 South Monaco Parkway near South Monaco and Evans. Call them today and ask for the $69 eye exam. That one you got to do on Saturday. But set the appointment, maybe tomorrow at 11 or whatever it is. It's like, and 303-321-1578, 303-321-1578. 1578 and set the appointment. Get the appointment. Premier. I mean, Alan Stack is the really good guy, and they do it right. Where's that one I wanted to read? Here, this is like, Billy, the first text before this, you truly are an arrogant AH. That was at 6:54 this morning. 7:01, where can we watch the shoot? same guy. If I listen long enough to you. 303-321-1578, 2233 South Monaco Parkway, 6 days a week. Stack Optical. Everything I got is from the man. Visit them today and tell them Peter Boyle sent you. Back with Michael Roberts after this. It is 25 minutes after the hour of 8:25 Thursday morning. Stephen Tubbs this afternoon. And The Shoot with Tom Tancredo, our first streaming television show. We're going to do about 9:30, and we have a list of people, including Michael Roberts. Hoping Michael Roberts' boss, Patty Calhoun, maybe get Roberts. Michael's with us in a second. Cooler, rain, 82, tomorrow 83. When you buy a home and you choose to refi, you're likely to see all these loan options available. What to do? Well, what's really best for you? Well, friends, there is an answer. It's easy. American Financing. Get that free mortgage review I've been talking about. It really is simple, straightforward. It's a conversation that is focused on you. Salary-based mortgage experts. And they're consultants, so they take the time to listen to you before creating a custom solution to achieve your goals. It could mean $1,000 a month. I mean, I save money. They tighten up the time you owe, and they drop the number. Tens of thousands in long-term savings in time, years. Pre-qualify for free, even open nights and weekends are available. Call them, American Financing, 303-695-7000, 303-695-7000. Online, AmericanFinancing.net, NMLS 182334, regulated by the Division of Real Estate. Kind enough to come with us from Westward. He is the print of record. He really does wonderful work. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Roberts joins us. Good morning, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
You know, we're taking a lot of heat again, and you and I have talked about this. The last 7 months have been really fascinating. Patricia, one time I asked her the most heat she took. And I think you were, the two of you, was it on Roy Romer? Was that the most heat you think you ever took, Michael?
Well, that one actually preceded me. I arrived at Westward in October of 1990, about 3 months after that article was published. And I can tell you that every phone call that I took in the first few months on the job, I had to set aside 5 minutes for people telling me how much they hated the Roy Romer article and how much they hated our article about Bill McCartney.
That was the next one, yeah.
And his daughter being impregnated by the quarterback of the team. People hated those articles. They were 100% accurate. They were proven to be 100% accurate, but they really caused people to flare up.
I remember those so well. I remember Patricia coming to the radio station, and we're starting this new streaming television show, and she's going to do it with us. But I remember and she had kind of indicated that they were going to do the Roy Romer's girlfriend story. And I love Patricia. She's, who she is. And I think she knew. I thought you were part of that, but you were part of the CU story. And
no, that one preceded me as well.
Oh, okay.
Those were both ones that were done by a reporter named Brian Abbas.
Oh, sure.
He has since changed his name to Ryan Ross, but he wrote both of those stories. And they definitely caused a stir that has echoed over the decades since then.
What's the most grief you took for work you did?
I don't know if I could even characterize it. I've been threatened with being thrown through a plate glass window. I have had death threats. I have, it's just one thing after another over the years. But it comes with the territory, sure. And our focus is always to tell the stories that need to be told, stories that often aren't being told elsewhere, and to get the facts right. And, that's been our guiding light since the beginning. And Patty is the one who established that, and I'm just following along on that track.
It's interesting, and you and I have talked about this last 7 months. And in pro wrestling, they call it the heat, and it is the heat. And it's interesting to have been through this, and it's not going away. It's intensifying, but someday, someplace, sometime, as in all things, it really has to come to some sort of a conclusion. But I, like religion itself, I don't think it ever really does. You did two great pieces. One, we just got done talking to Jeff, Brother Jeff, about Elijah McClain. You wrote about it. Michael, your thoughts about this story and what's going to happen?
Well, it's been a fascinating series of events. On Monday, it was the 2-year anniversary, 2 years since Elijah McClain died. He was attacked by the police on August 24th, 2019, but he was not declared dead until August 30th. And so we put a post there that sort of rounded up the last 2 years and Aurora's frankly pathetic performance over that period of time, just one delay and obfuscation after another. But we also mentioned in there, hey, it's been more than a year since the grand jury or since Jared Polis tasked Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser with investigating this case. It's been, over 7 months since the grand jury was impaneled. What's going on? Well, lo and behold, yesterday, Phil Weiser holds a press conference, and to the shock of many and the pleasant surprise of many, the grand jury actually passed down 32 counts against 5 individuals, 2 current police officers, 1 former police officer who was actually fired for texting the words "ha ha" about a reenactment of Elijah McClain's death in a photograph, and then 2 paramedics. And this morning we published a deep dive into the indictment, which was issued late yesterday afternoon. And just reading the account of the facts there, it's absolutely shocking and stunning that all of this happened. Basically, Elijah McClain was wearing a ski mask and dancing to music. Somebody saw him and thought he looked suspicious and called the cops. The cops showed up, and one of the cops, it says in the indictment, actually considered the fact that he was carrying a grocery bag with cans of iced tea in it suspicious. They laid hands on him. One of the cops said that they thought that he had reached for another cop's gun. There's no evidence that that actually happened. And what followed was basically 20 minutes of torture, after which he was injected with ketamine, a far larger dose than they should have given him for his body size, and he never regained consciousness. So we're in new territory here. These are the kinds of things where investigations are typically done, and then the prosecutor comes out and says, well, we can't prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. In this case, they're not only attempting to prove it, but they're attempting to go into new territory. They've actually defined ketamine as a dangerous weapon in this instance. So it's a fascinating series of events, and we're going to be watching closely to see how it plays out.
Michael Roberts from Westward is with us. Did you hear George Brockler this morning on a radio show? Not that I know you're busy, but George was on with us this morning.
I missed it. What did he have to say?
Well, I'm a big Brockler fan. I've been told by police that I respect that he was dead on the street, that Elijah McClain died on the street, and George agreed. And because this idea that I think it was, days later that he dies. And
according to the indictment, he was brain dead, but they managed to, after he had no pulse and was not breathing, they managed to get a pulse, but he was never regained consciousness from the time on the street.
I have great friends who said no, he was dead on the street, and they.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's not what the indictment says, but he was essentially dead on the street.
Yeah, and to his credit, George Brockler agreed. I don't know. We had Brother Jeff on as well, and this before we move, there was another topic to talk about. Michael, this is not going to end well. I don't care. It's a lose-lose, and I believe that the cameras will come, the networks will come. We all went through watching, the McVeigh trial or the other one, when the Aurora shooter, the theater shooter. This may bring more cameras and more networks, and if the paramedics and the former police officers, if they watch, and if they're convicted.
Well, yeah, that's another certainly frightening possibility there of what could happen if that comes to pass. I think you're right on the mark that this is going to get national attention, and in fact, the Washington Post was among the news sources that did an alert on the indictments yesterday. The national media is watching this closely, and this will be the next, Breonna Taylor kind of case or things along those lines.
And, there could be, George Floyd, it could be, name it and claim it, but this is going to amp up. And, Jeff was great. Jeff went back over, the separate issues that have gained the spotlight locally, not nationally, but of course, then that will begin. Mike Roberts is with us. They should have let that boy alone, that kid alone. They should have let him alone.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. Yeah, Aurora's belated internal investigations have essentially said that there was no reason for this stop at all, let alone that they would get physical with him. But Phil Weiser yesterday specified that his department is still looking at the patterns and practices of the Aurora Police Department in general to determine if there has been a bias against people of color. And Aurora's own report that came out in recent weeks essentially says there is a huge disproportionate use of force against people of color, and particularly black men in Aurora, and this is going to get ugly for the Aurora Police Department, which has lately, under Chief Vanessa Wilson, tried to make amends. In one recent case, 2 officers were quickly arrested after a violent arrest against a guy who was just basically sitting beside a tree. So there are changes underway, but they're belated, they're too few, and it's not going to prevent the authorities from bringing the hammer down on the Aurora Police Department.
And I'm this personally big supporter of law enforcement. We do MC1, we've done all the stories, and then you have this moment, and it's interesting to read some of the reaction, as you can well imagine, but this young man should have gone home. And the people have done timing. 90 seconds after they stop him, they got him. They're put hands on him, and he's telling him, I don't want to start it. But one more thing, and there's a story this morning about 4 conservative radio talk show hosts bashed coronavirus, now get sick, 1 died. And then you pick on the story of Pastor Bob Enyart. Apparently has got COVID virus. Take a second with that story, if you would.
Well, Bob Enyart is someone who has a long history in media here in the Denver area and got lots of national exposure. We did a feature article on him back in 1999 during a period of time when he was a regular guest on politically incorrect and debating hustler publisher Larry Flint. He has more recently been a pastor at Denver Bible Church, but continues to be a podcaster. His podcasts are available on every major podcasting service. And he and his wife, according to their own reports, he did not respond to our outreach, but they note that they both have COVID, and they also note that neither of them have been vaccinated. But the reason that they haven't been vaccinated is because Bob Enyart is a very vocal abortion advocate, and the main three vaccines all were developed in part using human cell lines from fetal tissue. Now, this fetal tissue is 30 years old, and or can be traced back 30 years old. It doesn't even exist anymore. These are cells that were grown from that original cell line. So, there are no human cells or fetal cells in the vaccines, but that's his rationale for not taking the vaccine. Even the Pope, the Catholic Church is about as anti-abortion as you can get, and the Pope says take the vaccine, but he is not taking the vaccine for that reason, and he and his wife have both contracted COVID.
And the beat goes on. It's like I just watched this stuff, and who was Tammy Faye's husband? Come on,
Jim Baker.
Jim Baker. He said, "Don't wear a mask because God can't hear you pray."
Oh.
And the beat goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you note there, there have been, a couple of Florida conservative talk show hosts who were anti-mask and anti-vaccine who've now died. There's one in Tennessee and Nashville who's died. There's no indication that Bob Enyart or his wife are that ill. Their son mentioned in a post that, it's a minor case, and we certainly hope that that's true.
Did he really, I've been told this, did he really read obits of people that died of AIDS?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's in our feature article. He not only read obits of people that had died of AIDS, but he played the Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust, in the background as he did so.
Billy. Man. Take care of yourself. Michael Roberts from Westwood. You can read this morning. I think it's a great piece on the grand jury, 32 counts. I've told you this before. It's the second thing I read in the morning is the Westwood website. You guys have always hit the home run. Be safe, Michael. Thank you for taking time out today, and the best to everybody. Thanks for your time.
And to you. Thanks again.
Right, thank you. Welcome. That's brilliant, huh? 303-696-1971. Hang on, everyone. 710 KNUS. All right, 8:48, 12 before the hour. Another knockdown, drag-out morning. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for all the cards and letters. In spite of them, right, we continue to do the radio show. We're waiting for Tommy Tancredo to do the shoot, and we'll explain how that is all going to be able to be viewed. We're going to do two, because Tom's so good that spend time with him, a list of people, and hopefully Robert Spencer from Jihad Watch has taken on the Boulder King Super story, and that's what I believe, that they're hiding him out, and they do not want a prosecution open. I do not want an open courtroom and have him talk about what he believed in terms of killing people. The Rasmussen poll, 75% of Republicans, 32% of Dems say Biden should resign over Afghanistan. But if you read the poll, the kicker is Kamala Harris is worse. All right, everybody, there truly is an art to putting together the perfect kitchen and bathroom remodel. If you want the best countertops at wholesale pricing, you need to contact Mitch Floria and the Art of Granite. Mitch is an expert, a craftsman. He can turn quartz and granite and marble and other materials into true works of art in your home. You can schedule a virtual consultation with Mitch. This is like a really good guy. Or he can come to your home, whatever you prefer. His web is theartofgranite.com. Start dreaming about your new countertops, and Mitch is my guy. Provides the granite from his own warehouse in Golden, wholesale pricing, no markups. Think about what things would be. And again, here we are, September the 2nd. Unbelievable. Feeling my grandmother. Where did September go? Where did August go? Mention 710KNUS and get a bathroom countertop free. Purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops. Get a kitchen bathroom sink free. Purchase of any countertop package. These are truthful and wonderful. This is the guy. Call Mitch. 303-386-5919. 303-386-5919. 303-386-5919. His web is great. Artofgranite.com. Art of Granite, Granite. There you go. I can spell granite.com. Artofgranite.com. Tomorrow the book is out, Marine Raiders. We'll do that. Hopefully, simply because he's simply the best. Robert Spencer, about this March shooting that 10 people were murdered in the Boulder King Supers. And Aman Alisa, his attorney's now saying, well, he's mentally incompetent and he can't stand trial. They don't want that guy to stand trial. Here's another example of why wasn't Saddam brought back, or why didn't they take Osama and bring him back and put him on trial? Because they can't. And I believe, as others believe, he was radicalized. He's a internet jihadi guy. The FBI, we know, was looking at his brother. And, of course, now, and I said it when it happened, you'll never see him again. The other story of interest this morning is Mike Lindell, who used to say, and he would be champion, he wants to be sued. He wants to be sued. Sue me, man. It'd be the greatest day in the world. All right, so he sold his airplane. He sold his private jet. He started to raise funds for his billion-dollar Dominion Voting Systems defamation lawsuit. He needs money to defend himself. You know, the people that wanted to be sued, and I hear them all the time, you've never been through it. You don't know what it's like. And he started to find out. He didn't think he would be sued, and the Kraken didn't think she'd be sued, and Giuliani didn't think, Linwood didn't think. I don't know if any of these other people, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. But watching Lindell, and soon it'll be called My Dominion Pillows, and you ask for it. The on-air people that bash the COVID virus and the guy's sick, and that stuff that Michael Roberts just said, reading names of people. AIDS is a virus. Here we go again. AIDS in the world is not a gay disease. AIDS in the world killed everybody, still does. In the United States of America, that's why you must read, and if you ever get a chance, And the Band Played On, Randy Stiltz's book. And I got to know Randy. He did the television show back, the old TV show. And what I didn't know, and he knew, that he was sick. He was sick, and that's what took his life. But read that book, And the Band Played On. Read, The Hot Zone. Read Spillover. Read these things. And the stuff that's out there, I know it's belief, and belief runs radio shows, but it's kind of scary sometimes, folks, that people can run with this stuff. But, and the beat goes on. But remember, HIV is a primate virus. It's a spillover. It's a jump across. As it was primates. Primates carried the virus, and it didn't kill them. And somehow, sometime, someplace, it jumps. It's like Ebola. Someplace it jumps. COVID, it jumps. And things morph with the pigs, and things morph with the bats. And I just finished again an overview of the 1918 coming out of what we think is Fort Riley, Kansas today, and what it did in the world. And it morphed and it changed in the lies that were told by Clemenceau, Lloyd George, and this one major, major battle that the German army needs to hold, and their German soldiers are too sick to fight. And this virus changes history. It's doing it again. All right, everybody. Thank you very much, Billy Thorpe. You did it again. We angered up the blood of so many people, and we're waiting for Tancredo, and we'll do the shoot, and we can explain all of that tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody. Grease for peace.